The doc is back in the office as the Alvin Parker Coaches Show is underway. Week 2 of the season, coming off a most impressive win in Frankfort last Saturday, 69-7 over the Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State. The whooping stick was brought from Lombardi Street to Frankfort. And here to talk about it, as always, head coach of Virginia Union, Dr. Alvin Parker. That was a most impressive performance. I know you're going to pick apart some things that you didn't like as a head coach, but the overall performance of the team, I think, was most impressive.
Oh, definitely. For a first game to kind of come out and kind of be clicking on all cylinders, was something that I was impressed by. I know those guys can play well, and I knew the capabilities of what we can do. But to kind of see it all come together in the first game, against somebody in a different jersey was something that I was impressed by. But like you said, as a coach, I can always find things that I could pick apart. But, I was proud of the guys. So, happy with the victory.
I didn't start off prosperous. First drive, R.J. Rosales throws the pick. They scored. Didn't give up a rushing touchdown. It was a passing touchdown. But then after that, it seemed like you guys got your feet underneath yourselves. You didn't panic. I think you mentioned that this week in your press conference. You didn't panic. R.J. didn't panic. What did you see out of him that gave you the confidence that he wasn't going to panic? He wasn't going to make that bad decision? How collectively the guys just didn't seem to be bothered by that first turnover?
When I speak to how me and RJ reacted, we both were pretty calm and, was just kind of on to the next thing. But the team all kind of had his back and everybody else was calm. And I think that shows the maturity of our team. When something bad happens, we always kind of tell those guys don't get too low with the low or too high with the highs, and it was one of those moments that you can kind of use that teaching moment for the whole team. And, something that we kind of been repetitive about, and those guys came back and did it. So I don't think I've ever been a part of a team that went, scored 69 unanswered points.
I was going to ask that.
So that right there just showed their resilience and kind of what we've been preaching all along. So, again, we fought back from it, and it was something that, again, we used as a teaching moment, but, it was good to have that after that.
We always talk about Jaden, what he did. Another great performance by him, 214 yards passing, 8th 200-yard-plus afternoon for him in his career. But the team as a whole, nearly 350 yards on the ground. So it wasn't just him. You had other guys to contribute on the ground game on Saturday.
I was happy to see the way the backs carried the ball. And they had that many yards and not to put anything on the ground speaks volumes about that backfield. But, again, we've been kind of talking about the depth that we have in that room, and those guys got to show the world on Saturday. So all those guys, did something good. You saw Curtis Allen, who does what he normally does. You saw Jerome Jones, who nobody really has seen. He got out there and did some good things. The same thing with Roberto Alvarez. He got out there and did some things that nobody had ever seen. And we was able to get the freshman in and get him a couple carries. So it was a good thing. So we were happy to see it.
Do you feel this year you have the talent in that running back room that can be just as effective as you guys did last year? Because I think you set, I believe, some conference record. No other school had 3 different running backs be named running back of the week in one season. You guys did that last year. Jada, running back of the week, starting off this season. But do you feel you have the depth from 1 to, say, 3 or 4 that there's no significant drop-off from Jada to the next guy to the next guy?
I think all of those guys, have their own little style of kind of doing things. They bring something different to the game. And they all are very capable, extremely capable. But I think what makes those guys, they're good, but what makes them even better is the guys that they run behind. So as long as we stay consistent right there, I think any of those guys will be able to kind of carry it and make something happen with it. So, but again, doesn't take away from any of their talent. They're all special in their own right. But we have a lot of special guys up front, too, that kind of make it happen for those guys.
We'll talk more about them because 2 of them received superlatives from the CIAA. One was named Rookie of the Week, Adrian Crespin, and also Offensive Lineman of the Week went to Joseph Rounds, and I think a couple of others from in the preseason were named preseason All CIAA. But you were very high on this group from the offseason that you felt this group, the starting five was strong, and the depth behind them were just as strong.
Yeah, Crespin is a redshirt freshman for us, and he played awesome on Saturday. We were extremely happy with the way that he played. And Joe was a starter last year center for us. So, to get 2 linemen to be named offensive linemen, in some form of the week, was something that, that group deserved. They earned the right to do that. We set school records in total yards, and them guys up front, including those two guys who received those superlatives, help do that. So it's not a lot I can say about those guys. Those guys don't get a lot of noteworthy stuff in the stat sheet. But our team, we jump on those guys' backs and we ride it.
No question. You mentioned that 674 yards of offense. That was a school record. And we mentioned a ground attack over nearly 350 yards on the ground. Byers had over 200 in the game. But we got to talk about that defense because after they gave up that short touchdown, we talked about that last week a little bit about not giving up the rushing touchdowns. There could be some fluke plays. That happened on Saturday, but it was a passing touchdown. They put it on shutdown mode after that to include 2 pick sixes. Now you have 5 interception returns for touchdowns in the last year. That's tied for first in all of Division II college football. You guys were like a machine defensively after that first touchdown.
Absolutely. Offensively, they were put in a bad situation. Get those guys the ball inside the 5-yard line right there on the first series of the game. So we end up giving up a passing touchdown right there. And after that point, I believe totally, those guys gave up about 90 yards the rest of the day. So in 2 interceptions and 4 sacks and minimum yard rushing, it was an amazing amazing output by those guys. So but again, we expect nothing less. Those guys expect nothing less of themselves. And again, it's so many guys over there that made contributions. I think everybody that rode the defensive bus got a chance to play. So when you got that many guys playing and that many guys making plays, it makes it fun to watch. So we were extremely happy with their play as well.
How satisfying is the fact that you can just say, Coach Pointer, you do your thing. I got so much confidence in you. I'm really not going to mess with what you guys do on that side of the ball and just can kind of focus on the other things that you need to do to kind of, to get this team rolling. And for him to be, was a defensive coordinator of the year, I believe, in
assistant
coach of the year. For him to have that game plan down, like you mentioned, 90 yards allowed, 28 through the air, 2 pick sixes, 4 sacks. How satisfying is that for you as a head coach to know you got a guy like that you can lean on and he's going to do what he's going to do?
I guess the first thing is the word trust. I trust him. We've been together since our college days. We live next door to one another on the campus. So, we've been together that long, so to speak. And, I know his philosophy. I know his style. I know when something not going the way he like it. But, he probably want me to leave him alone sometime. But for the most part, I trust him. That's the biggest thing. Him and the rest of the defense staff, I trust all of those guys. And that's how we been kind of getting the output that we've been getting. And you got to understand from the head coach's seat, I can see anything and I question it. It's just what it is. But those guys respect me enough to make sure they know that, get it done and get it done the fashion that we want to get it done. So, I'm happy with the entire defensive staff and what they're getting out of those guys from over there.
69-7. I mentioned 69 unanswered points for Union, and they hold Kentucky State first game of the year to just 90 yards of total offense and no rushing touchdowns allowed. When we come back on the Alvin Parker Coaches Show, we're going to talk to the 4 defensive linemen that had a hand in that performance last Saturday. That's coming up next as the Alvin Parker Coaches Show continues right after this.
In every athlete, there's a spark, a drive. At Virginia Union University, we turn that spark into a flame. Here, it's more than athletics. It's a journey of dedication, discipline, and determination. Where Panthers chase and catch their dreams. With dedicated coaches, a legacy of champions, VUU is where potential meets opportunity. Ready to transform passion into purpose, to elevate your game in life? It's time. Join us at Virginia Union University, where champions are made on and off the field. Your future starts now. Visit vuu.edu to learn more. Virginia Union University. Ignite your potential.
Back here on the Alvin Parker Coaches Show, this is our Players Lounge segment. We got the 4 defensive linemen for Virginia Union. A big reason while Kentucky State only scored one touchdown in the game in the first quarter, and that was it. The rest of the game, they were on shutdown the rest of the contest as they were limited to just 90 yards of offense. We got the 4 defensive linemen. We got Isaac Anderson. We have Mike Jones, defensive lineman of the week in the CIAA. We got Jackie Hilliard and also Isaiah Dickens in the Players Lounge here this evening. Guys, how are you?
Doing good.
Thank you for having us.
No problems. It's our pleasure to have you guys here. I know you got to be feeling pretty good after the win.
Most definitely.
On Saturday. I want to just get your thoughts about Saturday's game, how the confidence was, holding the team to, just less than 100 yards of total offense, how you guys were on Saturday.
For me, I just feel like it was great feedback to see how we gelled at that level as a team. Man, we came out, had a little hiccup, and after that we was going. And I love the way how we kept each other up.
Mm-hmm.
It was no whining or anything like that. We picked up our quarterback. We showed him that we had confidence in him, and you see how it rolled out for the rest of the game. So that was one of my favorite things that I saw personally.
I was going to ask about that. Like you said, the short field, you guys gave up the touchdown, and then you guys go on the sideline. What was the conversations like at that point?
We got y'all. Like, y'all trust us. We trust y'all. We go to war with y'all every week. We practice and prepare with each other. We know we capable of. Like, we get the job done. So,
as far as preparation, what did you see on tape that gave you guys confidence that you guys maybe not hold them to less than 100 of total offense, but you guys, you see something that we could do something against these guys?
On tape, just looking how they execute certain things, and it was like we know we can outwork them the way they execute their plays, the way they just go about certain tendencies. We go against this every day with Jada Byers and Coach Parker offense.
I was gonna say, seeing that running back, seeing Jada every day in practice,
sure.
How does that benefit you guys? How does that help you guys when you face an opponent, maybe not as the caliber of Jada, but how does that help you guys during the season?
It helped us basically get in shape too. it's like the pursuit drill because with Jada that outside, you got to be on your horses to go catch him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's basically like how the game went out. We was pursuing, flying to the ball, and 11 hats to the ball. You're gonna be successful every time.
Most definitely.
Let's talk about those two pick sixes. I know you guys played a role in getting those 2 pick sixes back-to-back drives. Matter of fact, what do you guys remember about those 2 plays to get the pick sixes?
Well, one of them, shout out to sophomore Kamari Frederick. Man, he had a great move on the offensive lineman, rushed the quarterback, and quarterback just threw it to our defensive back. So definitely shout out to Kamari. I know he's not in here right now, but he was definitely a big part of the first one. I can't remember much of the second one.
To speak on the first one, I was out there, and I was like, I turned around, I just see it in his hand. I'm like, oh my goodness, shout out to that boy Donald. But the second one, we was getting water, and they was like, y'all going back out there. And I'm like, dang, we're going back out there again for the 3rd time. I was just like, man, it was a blessing though.
Mm-hmm. 5 interception returns for touchdowns in the last year. For a defense, when you see that or hear that stat, what goes through your mind?
shoot, somebody catch the pick, go block somebody. We get a military convoy to the end zone every time. We trying to help our boys eat. So we do our job up front. Everybody gonna eat.
And I think the biggest thing too, we know we got some athletes back there in the defensive back room. So just knowing when those guys get their hand on the football, when it's thrown to them, all right, let's go ahead and put, like you said, let's go ahead and get our hands on somebody, and we know that we got the athletes to take it all the way back. So most definitely, shout out to the back end.
What is it like playing for Coach Pointer?
It's great.
That should have been automatic.
I know. Okay, let me say something. It took us a moment because it's so much. We that just took our breath away right there. Like, it's so much. Like
good job. Clean it up.
It took our breath away. Like Coach Pointer, he a man of few words.
Yeah.
So we know we only got so much. Because he's not gonna say much at all.
Right.
So he not saying much. So if you're not doing so much he like, you're not gonna hear him say nothing. So,
right.
So it's just it feel great playing for him because he got our back and we got his back.
Sure. Most definitely. I say, I've been here the longest out of everybody on this team. So, I seen the growth from all the coaches on the coaching staff. And, coming from 2019 to now, like he said, man, a little word. So you already know you got a small room of error. But he great coach. Any mistakes that we make, he'll pull us to the side. And he'll let us know what we got to be better at and where we can make those corrections. So, and I think we take a lot of his mentality too. Before the games, he letting us know what he expects, and he let us know I'm not worried. And that comes with us. And he let us know we got to have that mentality. And I think that's the one biggest thing that we pick up from him. So that's one thing I can say.
When do you know he is upset?
Oh,
You gonna see it on his face.
He gonna let you know.
I'm gonna let Isaac say it.
You gonna see it on his face. Well,
He gonna let
Coach
you know.
Porter, Coach Porter, he's a great guy. He's actually a great guy. But it's like if you, it's not basically get under his skin. It's basically like he get more mad at you for not doing the assignment after you just prepared the whole week. Doing this assignment, doing the technique clean, and then you get in the game, and then you end up out your gap, or you doing something uncharacteristic, and that's when Coach Pointer, Coach Pointer's not so nice no more. But it's just because you messed up something that you almost perfected. But that's just Coach Pointer for real. He just want perfection out of everybody.
Yeah, you hit it on the head too. I mean, it's more. It isn't even anger. It's more so disappointment.
For sure.
So.
And that's the worst kind.
Yeah.
Right
Yeah.
there.
Because he gonna hold you accountable.
You don't want to be on that side. I be on that side a lot.
He gonna hold you
on that side a
accountable.
lot.
Shout out Coach Pointer, man. That's my guy.
Now you got a big game on Saturday. We got about a minute left in this segment, so I want to get each of your thoughts about Hampton going down there to the 757. A couple years ago, you guys won there. Last year wasn't so kind. Your thoughts about the game on Hampton, especially going in, before your bye week.
It's a good team. I feel like we're a good team also, so it's gonna be a good game. Well respect to Hampton, so I'm excited about Hampton, and similar tendencies to Kentucky State, so should be a good game.
How's it?
Hey, it's the next game, baby. And Hampton and our way basically in the success that we're trying to provide for our team. So, Hampton got great ball players. We got great ball players. It's really gonna be a show. Honestly, it's gonna be a show. You do not want to miss this. And 6 p.m. Know it might be a little chilly in the 7-5.
That ain't gonna be no big deal, right? Well, that ain't gonna be a big deal. What you guys think about Hampton before we let you go?
It's gonna be an exciting game. I think the atmosphere is gonna be there. The energy is gonna be there. Great team. Like I said, they're the most dangerous team right now, which is the next team that we got to play. And our goal is to always go 1-0. So, like I said, I know it's gonna be a very exciting game. It's gonna be fun to show people what we can do, not only on against Division II opponents, but as well as Division I opponents as well.
That is a good test, and FCS opponent
For sure.
On Saturday.
For sure, but shoot, we scrap up how they scrap up. They bleed how we bleed. It's another game. Much respect to them, but we coming to handle business.
You heard it. The Players Lounge, 6 o'clock. It'll be on ESPN Plus. No, check it. It will be on Flow Sports instead of ESPN Plus. Flow Sports for Hampton and Virginia Union Saturday at 6 p.m. Guys, thank you for joining us in the
Thank you for
lounge.
having me.
Thank you for
Best of
having
luck on
us.
Saturday.
Thank you so
Congrats
much.
on
Yes, sir.
being named defensive
Defensive
lineman.
lineman of the
Mike
week.
Jones,
I appreciate
Mike
it. I just wanna
who?
shout out my team,
Mike
man.
Jones.
Shout out Coach Parker, Coach Pointer, Coach Brown.
MJ3, man.
He ain't gonna run no laps this week, based on that. Coach Parker is gonna join us for our final segment to talk more about the Hampton Pirates right after this on the Alvin Parker Coaches Show.
The styles you want, the brands you love, with the service you deserve. Better Menswear. From formal to casual wear, we carry quality men's clothing at sensible prices, where fashion and service meet affordability. That is Better Menswear.
For some people, university is just another series of classrooms. For others, it's about finding purpose and value as you define what will be your life's work. But when you step foot here, in this place, that's when you find your life's work colliding with legacy to produce an educational experience reaching deeper than you ever thought possible. It's more than books, more than classrooms, more than papers or exams. Virginia Union University is a place where you discover the power of a limitless future.
All right, back for our final segment on the Alvin Parker Coaches Show. Again, thanks to the guys for joining us. The 4 defensive linemen, Isaac Anderson, Mike Jones, Shaquille Hilliard, and also Isaiah Dickens for spending some time in the lounge. And also congrats to Mike for being named Defensive Lineman of the Week, one of 6 Panthers that were recognized by the CIAA this past week after their win against Kentucky State. But now we move forward. We move to this Saturday, and it's VUU taking on Hampton. And you kind of mentioned that, Coach, during your media availability this week about, I think somebody asked about Coach Taylor. He's got some ties with both programs, but he's going to is he going to toe the line this weekend?
Oh, no, he's a Virginia Union fan, big time. So, but he's excited about it. I think he has some Hall of Fame stuff he had to do there Friday. So he can be of Hampton on Friday, but I'm sure when Saturday comes, he'll be a Panther again.
He'll wear that maroon.
Absolutely.
That maroon is still gray. We touched on it last week before you guys went to Kentucky State, the success you guys have had on the road. And here's a stat. You've won your last – I hope I'm going to knock on this table because hopefully I won't jinx you. You've won your last 16 true road games or neutral site games in the regular season. Your last loss was the last time you went to Hampton in 21. What do you attribute that success on the road to in this great run?
Just having a great locked-in ball club all the time. That's the biggest part. I think, like I said, when you take it on the road, it's a different, mode of concentration. It's a different mode of focus, and it's a little bit, less distractions, that you might receive. But, that's a little bit of news to me, Sean. I knew we played well on the road, and I knew we did some good things on the road. But I know that Hampton was the
16
last
straight,
loss.
yeah.
So, but that's big time, and that just shows, like I say, the level of concentration these guys have when we jump on that bus. So, that's something that's pretty good.
Now, one of the few Hampton players that are still on this year's squad from that game is Elijah Burris. He had a big game that night. He had 136 yards on the ground, 3 touchdowns against you guys. He played well against Morgan State in a losing effort against the Bears. I'm assuming that's what the focus is going to be on this week in preparation for Hampton, is trying to slow down Elijah.
Oh, he's a big-time player. When he gets the ball in his hands, you almost hold your breath. I know the last time we played him, we did. He had a lot of big runs in that game and broke a lot of tackles and did a lot of things that helped those guys win that last game that we played against him. So we definitely got to have our eyes set on him. Again, he had a big game last week as well. And he's one of those guys that, he's kind of like in a sort, mentioned like he's to them what Jada Byers is to us.
I was going to say, yeah.
So, we know he's pretty special. He can get it done.
Last year they went with Zealous at quarterback, and he started the game against Morgan State, but then he went back to the 2022 starter and Mays, who kind of got them close but couldn't get over the hump. Are you preparing to see maybe both on Saturday, or do you think they may go back to Zealous, or they may? How are you preparing for the possibility of seeing maybe both of those guys this weekend?
Both of those guys played last weekend,
yeah.
So we expecting both of those guys to play this weekend. But every time we've been down there, they've had a special guy at quarterback. The quarterback position for them has always been something that they held a lot of esteem in. And, we haven't faced a quarterback who couldn't play anytime we went down there. So we expecting nothing less this weekend. And both of those guys can get it done. Both of those guys got a lot of game time reps, and both of those guys have won some big ball games. So, we're expecting to see both of those guys, and we know, we got to play a perfect game when we go down there on Saturday, not necessarily whoever they put on the field. We got to play a perfect game, so we kind of preaching that to the guys, and we want to make sure that we get that done.
Guys was talking about the atmosphere down there on Saturday. I'm assuming a great crowd is going to be expected. 6 o'clock, kind of that primetime window. What do you think it's going to be like on Saturday?
It's been great the last 2 times we've been down there. Virginia Union fans show up and show out. So definitely half of the stadium is going to be maroon and steel. But we expect our fans are kind of ready to see us in action. A bunch of them made it out to Kentucky State as well. So I think the atmosphere is going to be good. Like any Union and Hampton game has ever been. I think when you go back and you can check all the numbers from any game they've ever played, it's always been good attendance because of the rivalry. So we expect nothing less on Saturday.
Now the players are always talking about, this is the most important opponent because it's the next game, but I'm assuming it's doubly important because you got to bye after this.
Mm-hmm.
So, you don't want to go in with the loss. You want to go in at least 2-0 to get ready for conference play. How much is that talked about this week in preparation for Hampton?
Uh, kind of like what those guys said. It's the most important game because it's the next one. I think we just kind of keeping the main thing, and it's just the next ball game. So we kind of coaching those guys that way, just like we coach against anybody else. We'll look to the bye week kind of when we get there because it's going to be the first time we've ever had a bye week since I've been the coach here. But we're focusing on our next game, and that's kind of how we're going to take the entire year. We're not going to look past anybody, but when we get to that week, we're going to concentrate solely on that opponent. And this week, we're solely concentrating on Hampton.
Can we give a shout out to the conference as a whole this past weekend? 3-0 against teams from the SIAC in pretty good fashion across the conference on Saturday.
We definitely can. I spoke with both Coach Flowers and Coach Frazier about the wins. They gave me some shout-outs. I gave them guys some shout-outs because, I was impressed by how the CIAA took on the SIAC this weekend. So it was something that was good. When you look back at it and you look at how the thing was matched up, a lot of people had some unknowns, but I think the CIAA kind of answered a lot of those unknowns in terms of, conference versus conference. So, shout out to those guys. I told them personally, how proud I was of them. They told me personally how proud they was of me. So it's that camaraderie that we have. We love each other. We just probably that one day a year when we play
Right.
each other, we probably want to beat each other. But I want to see CIAA to do and show everybody just the brand and ball we play here. So I was happy to see that. And those guys got national stages with NFL Network and ESPNU, and us being on the national stage with HBCU Go. All three of us was put on the national stage and came out 3-0.
I was going to say that was the other important thing, the fact that all three of you did that on a national stage. So everybody got to see the Union brand, the State brand, the Johnson C. Smith brand on that level and beating another, SIAC Division II conference. That's going to go a long way. Hopefully, some committee members were watching those games. That could go a long way in November when, we're looking at strength of schedule and head-to-head matchups. Those wins could be huge in November.
Absolutely. I think any out-of-conference win, those wins go to being in region wins, Division II wins, all the things that check the box when it comes to, like you said, the committees. CIAA checked a whole lot of boxes this weekend.
They certainly did, and they could check another big one this weekend, even though it won't count towards playoff positioning. A win against an FCS opponent on Saturday will be huge for Virginia Union. Again, that game will be on Flow Sports this Saturday, 6 p.m., Hampton and Virginia Union. Before we go, final thoughts about that game against the Pirates.
We're just going to keep going through preparation like we normally do. We had a pretty good week of practice leading up to the game, at this point. So we just happy for the chance to compete. We know what we're going down there, we're going to face, but we're ready for the challenge, and I think our guys are ready to play. So, we'll see how things go on Saturday.
And we wish you the best of luck this weekend as you face the Pirates this Saturday.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, thank you guys for joining us here on the Alvin Parker Coaches Show. Thanks to Coach Parker and our guests, Isaac Anderson, Mike Jones, Jackie Hilliard, and also Isaiah Dickens. Thank you guys for watching. Join us next week when the doctor returns on the Alvin Parker Coaches Show. I'm Sean Robertson. Good night, everybody.